fucking love that song. I don't know why, but I do. Love it, but not that much. Apparently I'm late by 35 minutes. As I set the stream at the wrong start time, because I'm a tit. Well, hello and welcome to this Thursday's Movie News. I am Jonathan, here to speak about everything Marvel related today, really, with a little DC thing ticked on. Or tagged on, I should say, and a little bit of Star Wars as well, a little bit of theorising over the future of a certain character we get but a mere glimpse of, I want to say 3-4 years ago, with the movie Solo. But we'll get into that. I am absolutely certain, I'm going to double check, yes, that's fine, I've switched off the macro for the intro, so it will not haunt me later on in the show. We had the final trailer for Marvel's Eternals drop about 6 years ago, and I know it was about 5-6 years ago because Real Rejects came up as soon as I clicked on it to react to it myself, and they reacted to it 5 years ago, so I just knew they would be out within the first 20 minutes of it coming out and having the reaction out, because they're like fucking piranhas with that sort of stuff. So 5 years ago it came out, and I have to say I've just watched it. Well, I've not just watched it, I've watched it a while back and reacted to it, but I've just watched it in terms of days, at least. It was today I watched it, and fucking blown away by what Chloe Zhao has seemingly put together there. There is unbelievable positivity coming out about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings from the critics and from people who are not even critics, who have seen the movie, lucky bastards. Overwhelmingly positive about its artistic brilliance, its artistic merit, if you like. And look, I have to say, man, the trailers for Shang-Chi nowhere near as good as the trailers for Eternals so far, in terms of an artistic level anyway, in terms of technical craftsmanship, with wide shots, with amazing, just beautifully shot sequences that we've had a mere glimpse of in these trailers. So if they are waxing lyrical like this about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, and about how good that is, and that it's a top tier Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, how fucking good is Eternals going to be? How good is it going to be? Because the trailer, that final trailer, was majestic. So many things to talk about in there. Yes, I said things instead of things because I'm Scottish, and it's very hard to get out of the habit of speaking in slang. But I've went with this. There is a couple of topics I could have touched upon and headline with in regards to Eternals in that final trailer. But I've went with this one because this is one that caught my fancy the most, and I just loved the poetry that was in motion with this little line that's coming in from CBR. And as you can see, Endgame's victory has seemingly triggered the Eternals catastrophe, the next MCU catastrophe, or as I've says there, crisis, because I couldn't get catastrophe in. And I just thought that was fucking a little throwaway moment and a very exposition heavy trailer, where they in a sense say the energy from that reverse snap from Hulk, it wasn't Tony Stark as everyone now mistakenly says, it was Hulk, smart Hulk, who reversed the snap. The energy from it was what invited in this. What is it that says? I'm going to bring it up because I actually have got the thing here. It wasn't this. I've got multiple fucking articles open here. I'm trying to find the actual word. I can't get it. It's the awakening anyway. And look, it was all very dags. I can't even speak tonight. Cloaks and daggers about what this mysterious threat's going to be, but we know what it is. Anyone who's researched the Eternals, perhaps even fucking read the comics, if they have been good enough to actually do that, I don't know where to start in that regard with graphic novels. They will know the Deviants are the big bad when it comes to the Eternals. The Celestials created these two different kinds of people. They created the Eternals, they created the Deviants. They're like a darker version. It's like almost like a Greek, you know what I'm talking about, legendary sort of god story, or a Nord one, where you've got the evil gods, you've got the good gods, and they're always at loggerheads. That's kind of what it's like. The Deviants are the villains. I've got a whole articles up speaking about the villains incident, and we'll get into it. Elevator Not Lovely has says, yeah, I'm still worried about Eternals. I'm just scared that people are going to get their hopes up and then it's going to be bad. That's always a possibility with any movie, isn't it, really? But with Chloe Zhao in there, just an incredible director. I know Stephen didn't connect with Nomadland quite as much as I did, but I've seen elements of that even in this, man, of that sort of societal stuff going on. Even with the actual, I mean, we'll get into it, the Eternals group look like a very different ragtag bunch of people, the members within this Eternals. Some of them are saying they've not seen each other for centuries. There's clearly been some bickering in there. There's some discontentment within that group. They're going to have to get it together and fight this threat of the deviants coming back. And you get that sort of sense of that sort of Nomadland kind of vibe where it's every man for themselves in a sense. And I know it's a Marvel movie and it's not going to go that deep because it never does with Marvel movies. There's only so far you can really go with the human condition in a comic book movie. But it's Chloe Zhao, that's what I'm saying. An incredible director. And I've got fucking high confidence. See when Kevin Feige's out joking about movies like this potentially being a Best Picture candidate, he must have seen it. He must have high confidence in it. And as I says, that trailer, man, it blew me away. Various elements of it blew me away. Honestly, I wouldn't worry about reading the Eternals comics. They are terrible. They're the reason Jack Kirby left Marvel and went to DC. Oh, really? Was that what it was? I know there was some issues with him and Stan Lee. And he obviously, I mean, he created the whole cosmic stuff, didn't he? He was the sort of the brains behind the cosmic stuff, like the Guardians. Well, maybe not Guardians. When did that come out? But the cosmic stuff anyway, the more cosmic. So if I know Stan Lee, yeah, I remember him speaking in an interview about Spider-Man and stuff like that, why they created Spider-Man. He was just a relatable young kid. He could relate to all demographics. So I know he was involved in that. I remember watching the great John Snepp on Collider back in the day with Robert Meyer Burnett. They were speaking about Kirby and how he was the maestro of cosmic. So it's so fitting now that they're actually delving into that, even though it was a disaster. As you says, perhaps the comics were a disaster, that they're now starting to adapt that. Hopefully not a red flag. Hopefully the movie isn't a disaster. And this whole more cosmic multiverse thing they're going to be tackling in this next saga, hopefully it pops off. But this, I thought it was so cool, man. I loved the mushroom cloud, incidentally. I'm not sure what that was. Was that the remnants of the reverse snap? I'm not entirely sure, but I just loved that wide shot of that mushroom cloud. It goes back to it later, it's dispersed. And they're kind of expanding out on that whole point of why they couldn't interfere in the Endgame Infinity War conflict. They were instructed not to. Why were you? Who asked you to do that? It pans to the Celestial. Now, I don't actually know that Celestial's name, and I've read articles, and they actually told me the name of that Celestial, but I forgot it. But such an amazing shot of that huge, big, fucking robotic sort of creature just casually lingering in the middle of space. An incredible shot. We've not seen scale like that in an MCU movie, man. We have seen Thanos wiping out half a universe, but not yet have we ever seen a scale like that within a Marvel Cinematic movie. It felt so big. I says in my reaction, which will be going out shortly after this show, it gave me vibes of Denis Villeneuve's Blade Runner 2049. You could feel how big it was. You could feel the sort of, I don't know, ambition involved in this movie, tackling 7,000 years of story. And this, never before seen ensemble. This is the first time we're going to meet these guys, the likes of Icarus, played by the great Richard Madden. I love that guy, since the Game of Thrones days. A good Scotsman from Fife. And there's just a great cast. But this concept, man, I'll get into it briefly before I go off and speak about more things relating to this movie and potential release. Incidentally, could it go in the theatres? Could it go on the streaming service same day? The whole victory triggering an MCU crisis, that was the high point of that saga. That's when the world, the universe was saved. That heroic sacrifice from Tony Stark, that was the end of that era. We move into a new era, and it's almost, as I says, poetic that it's that triumphant moment for the OG gang that triggers this huge new sort of crisis. It may not be a crisis that envelops the entire saga. It may just be a crisis for the actual Eternals. It may be neatly finished and cleaned up by the end of this movie. But I just thought that was cool as hell. These guys couldn't come out of the shadows, and it was actually the Avengers who fucking brought them out. They couldn't help the Avengers. The Avengers brought them out of the shadows by ushering in this huge energy sort of force and ushering in the deviants. It looks like such a cool concept. I love the poetry in there. And I can understand now why Kevin Feige was just waxing lyrical about little artistic flourishes, just little shots. I'm pretty sure he says he presented the movie to Disney execs and it was the first shot of the movie. The first opening sequence was like rocks and water. It was a panning shot, and they were immediately taken on by it. By all accounts, they absolutely love it. They love what Chloe Zhao's produced, and it doesn't fucking surprise me, as I said before. An incredible director, and as I said during my reaction, and I'm not sure if I'm right, the only Oscar-winning director to actually direct a Marvel movie. Is that correct? I'm not sure. Certainly the only reigning Best Picture, Best Director winner to direct a Marvel movie. That shows you where the MCU is now. They're able to attract people of that calibre. Now, I understand Chloe Zhao wasn't quite the name she is now when they hired her, but even fucking hiring someone who had the potential to be an Oscar-winning director shows you where the MCU is now. They went from hiring up-and-coming names raw and almost giving them the opportunity to craft their career within this universe, to picking out a director who then goes on to win Best Picture within 6-7 months of actually finishing the movie. It's unbelievable. It's not finished yet. The movie's not finished. I spoke about that fairly, 5-6 months back? 5-6 months? A month back, for fuck's sake. That the editors hadn't keyed in the final finish, the final shoot of the movie, the final cut of the movie, and that they were actually leaving it to Chloe Zhao. She was tied up with Nomadland. She was going to come in and oversee it and okay and green light the final cut of the movie. She's probably done it now because the trailer's out. That's probably a surefire sign that the movie is complete and it's sort of final cut. But look, man, how Eternals was inspired by Iron Man and Captain America's relationship. What I was speaking about before, the dynamics of this group, and you can see it in the trailer. I've not seen them in centuries. They're bickering, there's little sarcastic remarks and retorts. It's the end of the world, at least we've got front row seats. That dynamic has been explored in a 2-minute trailer. And then you've got this quote here from producer Nate Moore. And I'm going to go straight to the quote because I'm not lingering on it too long. He told Entertainment Weekly's, he told Entertainment Weekly, I don't care who it was he told, it's a little bit like being on a road trip with 9 of your closest friends for 7,000 years. In development, we joked that it's like if Tony Stark and Steve Rogers have lived together for that long. That friendship will turn into frenemies and then turn into enemies and then come back to friendship because you have that common bond. It's like a family. And it is. Families fall out all the time. They have their little tiffs. They ultimately come back and see the light of day. Not all the time. As my family would be the perfect example of. Completely split up and everything now, man. Estranged relatives all over the place. But I love that concept because I got that vibe. I got that vibe of the bickering. And look, if you take the bickering of Steve Rogers and Tony Stark and what we've seen in Civil War, them nearly killing each other at one point, to a celestial sort of scale or a cosmic scale with these hugely powerful Eternals sort of characters, this ensemble, man, that could get fucking pretty nasty. That could get dirty pretty damn quickly if these guys fall out and they want to kill each other, but they have to remain incognito on Earth. I cannot wait to see the dynamic. I cannot wait to see Camille Nanjiani playing a Bollywood star whilst masquerading as a Bollywood star whilst being an Eternal. I cannot wait to see that. And just the way these guys are living. And Kit Harington's performance, he's playing a double sort of character. He's not a superhero at the start, I don't believe. He may become one by the end. And Barry Keoghan, that dynamic of this relationship, this ensemble, the different characters getting on, not getting on, suggestions that Barry Keoghan could be playing a rogue Eternal. He could be the actual villain. The villain could be within. The deviants aren't really the villains. But look, speaking about villains, speaking about deviants, bring this up. I'm going to end this little conversation. Well, on this, and then we'll go back to this in a moment. No, that's not it. I've got that many fucking topics open, man. Honestly. Is this it? It was. I'll come back to that in a moment. The villain. They've done the sleuthy identity. I can't even speak. Detective work. They've done the Columbo. And obviously, I mean, you don't need to do your Columbo. If you've read the comics, you'll be firmly aware of who this guy is right here. I can't fucking get my cursor over to actually hover over him. Where is my cursor? Doesn't matter. It's Crow. And of course, in a particularly high point in the movie, in the trailer I should say, I've not seen the movie, he seems to have, I don't know who Angelina Jolie's character is, I'm going to have to search her up, and I've actually got IMDb open, so that'd be a nice little moment to actually search up and find out what her character name is. Is it Fit? I can't read that, man. Fina. I am blind as a fucking bat, by the way. I am losing my eyesight quickly at the ripe old age of 32. Fina is being sort of caressed. She's been lifted off the ground by Crow. And he's semi-taunting her. You can't save them. Not one of them, I think he says, or something like that. Anyway, I'm paraphrasing. It's been a while since I watched it. But at least an hour ago. And I just found that dynamic so interesting. This guy's the sort of leader of the deviants, a bit of a general, if you'd like, and he's taunting this matriarchal figure within the Eternals. And she doesn't look completely powerless. She kind of takes her eyes away. She's glowing. The eyes are glowing, incidentally, much like Batfleck's eyes in Batman v Superman. I thought that was intriguing. So much so I actually put it in the thumbnail. And just that dynamic, man, between the Eternals, the Deviants. It's going to be so interesting to see if we do have a rogue apple within the Eternals group. And that'd be a nice little twist, if you'd like. To go from thinking it's Crow and his Deviants who are the big bads to actually being one of their own who sticks them in. We've seen that done many times before. Matrix, Cypher, turning on them, siding with the fucking agents, if you'd like. But the final thing I was going to touch upon, it was actually the theatre release thing. Before I move on to the next topic, because it's been frantic trying to get all of this into one headline topic. And when I get excitable about something, I speak 200 mile an hour, and most people can't understand me. But the theatrical release window, there is suggestions that they may leave it to as late as next month to decide whether they are releasing this in a theatre solely or as a premium access point on Disney Plus and in a theatre. And that's leaving it that's cutting it close. I don't actually know when this movie comes out, incidentally. I'm completely fucking clueless about release dates for some reason. I actually said the same thing about Shang-Chi the other day. And I'm actually going to furiously look about. It's November. It could be. I'm pretty sure it was. I'm pretty sure it says it was going to be left as late as September. Yes, it may have to be made in September, and I think that's primarily because of movies getting pushed back, calendars being chock full of great movies, and not wanting to tread in the toes of other great movies like Dune and stuff like that. No Time to Die. You're going to have to calculate pretty quickly, and of course, other big movies coming out, the likes of Spider-Man: No Way Home. So your options will be limited the longer you leave it, and they'll probably have to make a decision next month. Now for me, my preference is someone that wants to go and see movies in the theatre on the big screen, certainly Marvel movies. Putting it on Disney Plus as a premier access would be a fucking disastrous idea. It would cut the feet from under Chloe Zhao in this movie. It wouldn't make money at the box office. It certainly wouldn't make the money that it would make if it was in the theatre solely. So it would be a disaster for the movie. And you'd be setting it up to fail box obviously in every manner. So get it out in the theatres, solely out in the theatres, and let people fucking flock to the theatres with masks on if they have to escape the Delta variant, and make this movie a success, man. It's like Tango Man used to say, let's make America great again. Well, he didn't, but let's make Marvel Cinematic Movies great again. Let's get them in the fucking theatres and absolutely back them to the hilt, because Black Widow was a bit of a letdown, let's be honest. But look, I am moving on to the next topic, man, and I'm speaking about that very point that I was just touching upon there at the tail end. It's almost like I've thought this up. I've actually thought about how I'm structuring the shows, and I'm not just spontaneously firing things together and giving no care or thought to actually what I'm doing. I'll move on to the next fucking article, that'd be nice. And as you can see here, more Marvel movies will be on Premier Access, not maybe on, it will be on Premier Access. And this is coming in from a box office analyst. Now, this guy may be Wall Street-esque. I don't know what you'd call it. Telepathic, is that what you call it? In terms of mystic meg kind of figure, he's got his crystal ball out. He may be able to read the future and tell us for an absolute surefire fact, that doesn't even make sense what I said there, that these movies will go on the actual streaming service at Premier Access. But I have my doubts, but we'll get into it. Because I think Disney are smart, and I think Bob Chapek's smart, and I think even he realises that piracy is a thing, and that ultimately movies like this that would make $700-800 million at a minimum in normal times will make a fifth of that at most if you're putting it on a streaming service and piracy is allowed to do its thing. I think they're smart enough to realise that. I think they're smart enough to look at the numbers from Black Widow and Shang-Chi as an experiment and make their own minds up. But we'll get into it. I'll get into it just now. Where is the quote from this fucker? Speaking to Variety, Jeff Bock, an industry analyst for exhibitor relations, described Marvel's current slate of releases within the pandemic as close to phase 1 of the MCU. Rather than where it currently stands, he added that we should think in terms of the expectations for Iron Man or even Captain America or Thor. He went on to say that, obviously, Disney wants Shang-Chi to be a huge success. But in terms of what audiences want, I just don't personally see the numbers. From what I think we have all heard from the brass at Disney, they're going to continue to play what works best for Disney after Shang-Chi. I think they're going to continue to go with Premier Access until the pandemic is eradicated. And even then, I don't know that they will completely change. Well, they won't in terms of complete selfishness and not caring about exhibitors and theatre companies, because ultimately if it's on Disney Plus at a premium access point, they get to keep the vast majority of the profits, if not all, because they're not paying the talent. We know that because Scarlett Johansson's suing them at the moment. So they get to keep most of the money, whereas if it goes out in the theatres for 2 months, they have to give a cut to the theatre company. So I think in terms of raw financial gain, they'd love to put it on a streaming service and have 3 million people access it at $30. You do the raw maths on that, I don't know what that would equate to. A lot of fucking money. But that's just not realistic, because as I did say, I know for a fact that piracy is rife, because I've spoke about the Suicide Squad, I've spoke about Black Widow being the most pirated movie in the pandemic era, and that's completely correlated to this premium access point on Disney Plus. Yes, someone has to pay $30, but after that they pirate it and it's available for free from all of the regular sources if you want to do that. And it's completely cutting the fucking feet, the knees, every fucking part of the body from under the directors, the people who have worked blood, sweat and tears to create these movies. And it's just blasphemy, and I don't like it. I don't want to see it. And obviously I'm in a nice, don't know what you'd call it, privileged little position over here, in the sense that we've vaccinated 90% of our population, and it's not having quite as much an effect as it is over in the States perhaps, where there's a lot of vaccine deniers and are just not prepared to deal with this Delta variant that's been kicking about here for months. So I'm in a little bit more of a privileged position. I can go to the theatres with a degree of confidence and not give a fuck. And it's not quite like that over in the States, and they probably still get PTSD from Tango Man running the show during the first part of the pandemic. But for me, I think it'd be a disaster continuing this outside of the pandemic. Surely even Disney realised that they were grossing billions of dollars when these movies were solely in the theatres. And look, the analyst says that you have to think of it like phase 1. It's not like phase whatever the fuck we're on, 3, because we're on 4 just now, where every movie was grossing $700-800 million, $1 billion plus. He's saying that it has to go back to Captain America, Iron Man, very early MCU grossing days, where you have to turn your expectations in terms of money. But after the pandemic, man, if it's anything like what came before in this cinematic universe, the brilliance, the connections with the characters, the way they're interconnecting the TV shows, I can't see people not being switched on to it, not enjoying it, not want to share their money in a theatre. So maybe they will continue, I don't know, I'm not a box office analyst like Mr. Bok there, but I think it'd be fucking financial suicide to pursue a strategy like that. It doesn't make sense to me. I want to watch movies in a theatre, but everybody's different. Some people are house, they're homebirds, they're shut-ins, and they don't want to go out the house. Maybe they're get issues with sunlight. Maybe they're like the characters from Amiga Man, or the Warlocks. Was it the Morlocks from the Time Machine? Maybe they can't go out the house, and that's why this pandemic's been a fucking period of sheer bliss for them, because they don't have to go to the theatre and share a communal experience with sometimes, let's be honest, smelly bastards who, shouldn't be in a theatre with people they don't know. But look, moving on, I digress. Time will tell. I'll be watching it in a theatre regardless, so it doesn't really apply to me, it's not applicable. Michael Keaton has been out speaking about his character Vulture from the Marvel Cinematic Universe once again. And I actually covered this perhaps earlier in the week or last week, I can't recall what show it was, and he was asked a question regarding that appearance he seemed to have had, that I seem to have missed, in the Morbius trailer, looking for all the world like he was playing Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming. And he was asked about it, and he played coy, and he kind of says that's for the future. Time will explain that appearance. He was playing coy, he wasn't admitting he was in it. Well, it looks as though he's finally admitted that he is indeed playing the same Vulture in the Sony Spider-Verse, in the Morbius movie with Oscar-winning Jared Leto. And I find this so interesting in the build-up to No Way Home, knowing for an absolute fucking fact it is a multiverse movie, because Dr. Stephen Strange, who's currently, I don't know if they're still shooting that movie incidentally, they may be done, but who is involved in his own multiverse movie set to come out next year, I think. He is in that movie, because I just seen behind the scenes shots, pick-up shots of him with the beard and all, sitting in a restaurant with Tom Holland. So Stephen Strange is in it. He's battling a multiverse issue. The Sorcerer Supreme, that's his fucking job. Why was he not in WandaVision? I keep getting back to it, because my brain just can't process why he wasn't in it. And I hold grudges, because I thought he was in it. Well, he's in No Way Home. Morbius has to be in No Way Home because Kevin Feige set this character up in an end credits scene, interacting with Scorpion, I think his name was, and he's never really went back and gave us some, what would you call it, I don't know, clearance with those characters. He's not went back, he's not utilised that storyline, and that's not what Kevin Feige, that's not what the Marvel Cinematic Universe, when they set something up, 9 times out of 10, they address it, and they integrate it into the storyline somewhere down the line. They've not done it yet. This is a fucking multiverse movie. For all the world looks like it's going to be a Sinister Six movie against multiple Spider-Man characters. Vulture has to be in it. And then he's saying this in quotes. And I'm going to read it out. He's been speaking to somebody, I don't know who. And he said this: "I'm nodding like I know what the fuck they're talking about." I love the fact he's swearing. My kind of guy. I go, uh-huh. And I'm thinking, you may as well be explaining quantum physics right now to me. All I know is I just know my guy, and I know the basics. So finally they were looking at me and they just started laughing. They says, "You don't know what we're talking about, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't know. I no idea. I don't no idea what you're talking about. I can't read." I don't know at which point it actually confirms he's in Vulture, but I think he was probably asked, "Is this Adrian Toomes, aka Vulture from the MCU, who you are playing in this movie?" And he's seemingly confirmed that it is. So when you go back to what I was speaking about there, and you address the fact this is looking like a Sinister Six movie, Electro, Doc Ock, potentially Green Goblin in there, Mysterio floating around as a sort of shadowy spectre, his legacy still haunting Peter Parker in this next movie. You've got 2 spots left. Vulture. No, have I done maths wrong here? Let's go back. Let's do it. Let's do a little maths, a little algebra lesson here. Vulture, Scorpion, Electro, Doc Ock. I don't think Green Goblin will be back, incidentally. Could Morbius come over? Have I even done maths right there? Let's try this algebra lesson one more time, shall we? Can you tell I'm not very good at maths? Let's just make sure I counted out 6 there. Or I've counted out 5 and there's 1 gap left. Electro, Doc Ock we know is back for sure. Vulture, Scorpion had no clearance at all. We're missing potentially 2 other characters from the Sinister Six. So could it be Morbius? Could it be Green Goblin? Heavily rumoured that William Dafoe's back again. The fact that he's admitting his Vulture character is now in a different universe, in a Spider-Man related villainous movie, it is just too much coincidence. There's too much coincidence involved, and coincidences, I can't even fucking speak tonight. There's too much coincidences involved there. It's come on. I mean, is it Occam's razor? Is that the theory? You go for the simplest fucking explanation, and that's the one that you dive on and roll with. He's in a Spider-Man villain movie. He's playing the same character he's played in one Spider-Man movie. Surely fuck Morbius is going to come over and they're going to interact and finally connect these 2 universes. And then that opens the door for Tom Hardy's Venom to come over at some point. I'm not saying he'll do it in this movie, but at some point he could come into another movie in this universe because they've created the precedent. Listen, if you're watching this at some point in the future, or maybe now, comment down below and tell me what you think about that. Is that a coincidence that Vulture from the MCU is now starring in the Sony universe, and we've got an Oscar-winning villain who's a vampire, and we've got a vampire hunter movie coming up in a couple of years? Is it a coincidence that this is happening, or do you think he's going to jump over? Because to me, it's so fucking obvious what's going on here. And he's talking about quantum physics and them explaining all of the storylines and what's going on with the character. Multiverse. I fucking hope it is, man. I really do. I'd love to see Morbius from the Sonyverse coming over and creating that president, and then they've got access to some fucking incredible villains that they currently perhaps can't use because Sony hold the cards. I'm excited for the future, man. I'm tying myself up knots trying to work it out myself. I'm not a quantum physicist by any means, but I so hope that we are getting mixing of universes here, and I hope we're getting a potential Miles Morales coming into the MCU at some point, a Gwen Stacy coming into the MCU at some point. If they start bridging the gap between these universes, the potential is fucking limitless. What Kevin Feige can do with the bridging of these characters, man. I hope it's the case. He's confirmed it. Has he? I don't know. I read the quote. I couldn't see confirmation. I am going to take MovieWeb's word for it. Moving on to the next topic though. It's all about James Gunn. And speaking about Kevin Feige and his wizardry and his approach to connecting all of the dots and just creating probably the greatest cinematic universe, not probably, the greatest cinematic universe the world has ever seen in terms of movies. Cinematic universe, it can't be in any other medium, John. It's a movie, you fucking tit. It has to be a cinematic universe, it has to be a movie. Creating the greatest cinematic universe ever. And now we're moving over to the complete opposite of it, and that is DCEU and their horrendous cinematic universe, their horrendous attempts at it. And why I'm bringing up a website here and I'm bringing up reactions. Fucking shambles. A shambles of a show. And they're disastrous attempts. James Gunn's been out speaking about Superman. What's the deal with Superman? Is it going to be Henry Cavill? Is it going to be a different variant of Superman? A black Superman? Fucking who's playing Superman? Is it Brandon Routh? Is it J.J. Abrams? James Gunn said his words on the matter, and it's seemingly confirmed why the paradox of DCEU is not just a continuity fucking issue, but it's just an absolute disaster. A disaster. No one knows what's going on. The executives don't know what's going on. The fan base don't know what's going on. The actors don't know what's going on. And the directors don't know what's going on. What the fuck's going on with the DCEU? This is what I had to say. At the time, there were a lot of questions. I hope I'm reading the first quote here. A lot of questions about who is the Superman in the DCEU. The fact you even have to ask that is insanity to me. Is this movie outside the DCEU? And all that stuff, I didn't really want to deal with that much. And then he goes on to say they wanted to include Superman as the film's villain, but eventually settled on Starro the Conqueror. Superman as a villain in a Suicide Squad movie. I can't fathom it. I can't compute that. My brain can't compute that. And it's completely in line with what Warner Brothers have been doing over the last couple of years, what they've been saying in regards to Henry Cavill and his lack of appearances as Superman, completely dropping the ball and potentially the greatest Clarke Kent that's ever lived. If he'd had more movies, I think he could have topped Christopher Reeve in his portrayal as that character. He had all of the charisma, he had the size, he had the youth, and he had his first Superman movie 8 years ago or something. And he's been in 2.5 movies since then, if you include the half appearance cameo in Shazam. And they were talking about he needed momentum. They couldn't create a Superman movie, there wasn't enough will for it in the fan base. And I says at that point, that's fucking nonsense. It's Superman, you create a good Superman movie, the fans will go and watch it. And then we've got this being voted to James Gunn a couple of years ago after the whole Disney fracas and him moving over to Warner Brothers. Potentially wanting Superman to be a villain in the Suicide Squad. Come on. This is a guy that can rebuild the Great Wall of China with his eyes. He can survive outside in space. He's thrown nuclear weapons into the fucking sun. How the fuck can the Suicide Squad compete with this guy? I know that Bloodsport shot him with a kryptonite bullet. Come on. It's insanity what's going over at DC, but we'll get into it more. When asked about the relation of the finished film to the rest of the DCEU, Gunn demurred, if that's how you pronounce that, and simply said, that's outside of my realm of knowledge. It's whatever the DCEU is today, and with Aquaman and the Flash and everything else. These answers point to a larger problem within the DCEU. They certainly do. The problem being that there is completely no foundation to build anything on in this current iteration of this cinematic universe. There is no structure over at that studio. They don't know their arse from their elbow. They really just want to just scrub the DCEU in its current form, play the characters that were in it out to their fitting end, be it Aquaman, Jason Momoa, be it Flash, Ezra Miller, be it Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot. Play them out to their fitting conclusion. Ray Fisher seems to be done as Cyborg because he's still wanting an apology and they ain't going to give him it. Just play them out, do a couple of more independent movies, scrub it from scratch, start from scratch, bring in new writers, new producers, bring in James Gunn as a Kevin Feige, create a new Batman. We've got a new Batman, but it seems to be in a different universe. Create everything from scratch, that's what I'm saying, man. Get a one-centric sort of vision. Have a guy that knows what he's fucking doing, and then build from there. Stephen thinks James Gunn can do a Justice League movie at some point in the future. I actually share those sentiments. I think he's perfect for it because he can create a great human sort of story with the laughs, with the action, with the expletives. It could work, but not in this current DCEU. It's a shambles. And the fact that you've got James Gunn, they want to come over and make more movies. He doesn't know what's going on. What the fuck is going on at Warner Bros? How much of a disaster was that universe? Move on from it. You're finished. Kill him now. That comes from something I don't know. What was that movie? Kill him now. It's fucking Revenge of the Sith, the beginning, when Count Dooku gets beheaded at the whims of Emperor Palpatine. Can you tell I'm a Star Wars fan? And that's what I'm going on to next. Star Wars, and in particular Emilia Clarke's Kira character from Solo, from Ron Howard, from the disaster, from the phoenix risen from the ashes of the Lord and Miller. That is what you call him, isn't it? Phil Lord and Chris Miller. Their disaster of a movie, thanks to Kathleen Kennedy and a poor micromanaging of that Lucasfilm organisation of that Star Wars movie franchise. Is that what you call it? A franchise? I don't know. Doesn't matter. There was some positive things came out of that Solo movie. That's what I'm saying, man. I enjoyed it. Well, it's not what I say, but I'm saying it now. There was some positive things came out of that Solo movie. It wasn't the sort of, I don't know what you call it, mismatch of clearly different directors' visions of scenes that they didn't have time to change. No, it was the characters. It was Donald Glover's portrayal as Lando Calrissian, as this flash younger Maverick version. It was to an extent Alden Ehrenreich's take on Han Solo. Was he Harrison Ford? Was it as compelling as that one from the original trilogy? Certainly was not, but it was still an enjoyable enough little watch. I don't think it was terrible. And it was certainly the likes of Darth Maul coming back. Certainly a look at the Crimson Tide at what was his name? Dryden Voss, Paul Bettany's character. And in connection with that, Kira as this manipulating, flip-flopping criminal mastermind who takes control of the Crimson Tide at the end and works with Darth Maul. Where am I going with this? Well, as you can see here, it's coming in from Cinema Blend, and they say Emilia Clarke's Solo character will be getting even more attention in the Star Wars universe. Is it in a TV show? Is it in a movie? Certainly is not. It is in comics, and that's absolutely fine because Emilia Clarke has gave a blessing. It's actually down here somewhere. I think they say that she gave it a blessing. She liked it. She was in love with the idea of the character continuing on in some vein. She's already expressed a will to reprise her role as this character. She's already expressed her desire to see that era explored, that criminal underworld, a different side to the universe. And I've already expressed my desire to see that kind of TV show with multiple bounty hunters, with multiple gangsters figures and warlords, if you like, the likes of the Hutts and stuff like that. That time period's perfect for me. And I would love to see it happening. George Lucas had 100+ episodes written for a criminal underworld TV show. I think it was called 101 or something like that. I can't recall the actual name. It never came to pass because obviously Disney took over, and he never really did seem to have the will to do any more Star Wars projects after the backlash against him after the prequel trilogies. So for me, I want to see it. Lucas, the mastermind behind this whole franchise, this universe, wanted to see it. This woman wants to see it, this incredible actor. And this is a quote that's coming from it. I don't actually know what this quote's from. While Kira plays a huge part in the war of bounty hunters, that event is really a Boba Fett story. I have a bigger story I'm going to tell in Kira and Crimson Dawn, and it's all connected to the reason she kicked things off in War of the Bounty Hunters in the first place. You'll learn more about that in the closing pages of War of the Bounty Hunters. I think fans have no ideas how exciting and new this story will feel. I want to see this story adapted though. I want to see this story come to Disney Plus. We are getting a Lando Calrissian TV show with Donald Glover, and I'm really looking fucking forward to seeing that because he is an incredible man. Not just actor, not just artist, stand-up comedian, an incredible man, and I want to see him portraying that character and portraying it well again in a TV show. But it's more for the connections we're going to get from it. We've already got it with Mandalorian. We've got the Book of Boba Fett. Why not have spin-off criminal underworld TV shows connecting to that Solo one, not Solo one, to that Calrissian one, Lando one. Bring back Alden Ehrenreich, bring back Kira, bring back Ray Parks, bring back Peter Serafinowiczi's voice, bring back Darth Maul. Make it happen. I've already said I want Star Wars to pursue TV. Now, I don't want them to do movies. The movies have been shite in the main. 2 good ones, 1.5 good ones, 2 good ones out of 3 movies. Forget about it, man. Focus on TV. That's where you've had success recently. I'm finished though, man. I'm done. What is your thoughts on the topics that I've touched upon on the show tonight? What do you make about that headline? The Eternals trailer, the final trailer dropping, and giving us a whole array of things to be excited about. Celestials towering above, deviants coming out from the shadows and caressing main characters from the Eternals. Lots of action, lots of stupendous scales, lots of humanity within there, and lots of exposition and answers to why they weren't there in those last dying embers of the Infinity Saga. If you've got anything to say about that, you can comment down below and share your thoughts there in the comment section. What do you make about this box office analyst suggesting that Disney may pursue a premium access strategy on Disney Plus out with the confines of the pandemic era in regards to Marvel Cinematic Universe movies? You can comment below and tell me if you think that's a good idea. Are you a shut-in? Do you hate the idea of going to a theatre? Is this music to your ears? Are you the complete yin to my yang? What do you make about Michael Keaton? And whatever the fuck I was talking about Michael Keaton, Vulture, getting into the Morbius movie. Do you think that is a sign, as I said earlier, that he could be jumping over to that universe, that Morbius could be coming into the cinematic universe, that we could be seeing a Pandora's box being opened up, that these universes connecting? You can share your thoughts down below about that. What do you make about the DCEU being a shambles? And finally, do you want to see Kira in a criminal underworld sort of era, in that era of Star Wars, being buffed on Disney Plus in the form of TV shows? You can comment below about any of those things, about the weather, anything you feel compelled to share within reason in the comment section. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and hit the follow button over on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future. Lord knows why you would, because it was a bit of a gibbering, shambolic performance from me tonight. But that happens from time to time. But you can subscribe if you liked it, you can follow if you liked it, and if you didn't, that's absolutely fine. But look, until then, regardless, I am done. Catch you after. Bye-bye. We'll meet again, don't know where, don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some sunny day. Fucking hated Beethoven, and I hated that song. Bye guys.